Let's bring in my friend, the most decorated soccer player in American history, the all-time leader in goals and assists for the United States men's national team. 16.
Good hands, kid.
God, that's embarrassing.
Good
to drop that
hands.
soccer.
Don't quit your day.
Yeah, you can't use your hands in soccer. Good point, John. Of course.
Well, you can if you're a goalie.
Yeah, U.S. always had Tony Meola, Tim Howard. I'm missing one. We always had great goalies in this country. We've actually
Brad Friedel.
Brad Friedel was terrific.
Can I move this back?
Yeah, move it back. Move it wherever you want. Brought to you by Modelo, by the way, which is not a World Cup sponsor, but it's a good beer.
You like the beer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm not a huge beer drinker, and I like Modelo.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll drink more now. Okay, let's start with this. What does it mean when the United States and Canada and Mexico conjoin to land the World Cup in 2026? What does it mean to you? What is that beyond like, hey, it's great for Fox, it's great. What does it mean?
Well, for me personally, I'm half Canadian, half American, and I just spent 4 months of my life in Mexico. So I understand the cultures very clearly. Yeah. And I think the ability, especially in today's climate, to join together as a continent and do something special is pretty cool.
Go back to when you were 10, 11, 12 years old. Mm-hmm. What hooked you on soccer? Was there one of these seismic events?
It was the World Cup.
It was the World Cup.
I was 12 in 94.
You were.
And I went from, that pushed me from being a kid who loved playing soccer, knew nothing about soccer, to, wow, I want to be a soccer player. And it was. I watched Argentina, Romania in the Rose Bowl. It was my first live soccer game. I knew nothing about the sport at that level until
That's amazing.
Cool, right?
You were 12 years old.
Yep.
And became the all-time most decorated American soccer player off watching a World Cup match live. That is so cool.
There were other things that contributed.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that ignited your...
Yeah. It just made it a reality, right? And if I think about 2026, if I think about any World Cup, you're sitting at home watching. It's this game you've loved playing as a 5 or 10-year-old, and then all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, look at all these people. Look what all this means. That's pretty cool, and that inspires you.
By the way, being the home team, the home country, Russia today looked good. I think, could I argue Russia could be a surprise team in the World Cup?
Yeah. Usually... It's funny how home teams always do well in World Cups.
They do.
I'm sure there are some contributing factors. But it's interesting. And they have, well, obviously, what every other team doesn't have, which is they have fans behind them. But there's also a very real human element to refereeing, too, that you want to see the country do well. And you don't want to make a call against that country, right? Sure. So Russia's the lowest ranked team in the World Cup.
They are.
Which I'm not sure if that's ever happened. Coming into a World Cup.
That a host is the lowest ranked team.
So if they get out of their group, I mean, it's just by metrics, it's a miracle, right? So, and it could happen.
The best soccer player I've ever seen is
Me?
Ronaldo.
Oh.
You're the best American soccer player.
Okay.
But Ronaldo's the best player. Now, Messi's great, but I've said this before, NBA, NFL, if given two, I'll take the bigger, stronger athlete, and Ronaldo he's a bigger, stronger, he's a handful. Now, Messi, his footwork in tight space, it's like magician. Mm-hmm. But if you played against either, been on the same pitch.
Both.
Okay, explain as a great player what it is like to be on the same field as Ronaldo and Messi. You can take each separately.
So I'll start with Ronaldo. So I would say it's probably akin to playing when guys play against LeBron, because at any moment, if he decides physically, I'm just going to dominate, he can dominate against anybody in the world. And that's how LeBron is, right? If he puts his mind to it and says, I've got the ball here at the top of the key and I'm going to get to the basket, he's going to get to basket. Messi's different in that I've never played against a player that moves that way. He almost glides on the field, and his center of gravity and his balance is exceptional. I don't know what the comparison is in American sports, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen.
And do you see it instantly?
Oh, you know it in a heartbeat. When he touches the ball sticks to his feet, and he just glides. And I remember a play vividly. We played in 2007. Actually, it was my 100th cap, so I remember that game very well. There was a moment he got the ball in the middle of the field, and he started dribbling through us. And I remember four of us, including myself, tried to grab him, kick him, pull him down, and he just bounced off us like a pinball. And he stayed, and he kept the ball, and he stayed up. And you don't see that. I don't see that in soccer. I've never seen that before.
It's funny. In this noisy world of social media, for the last 15 years, the very covert Spurs, the very covert Patriots, have dominated. Alabama, nothing gets out. Germany, similarly, is not known for its flashiness and its stars. They've got this system. And I was always attracted to not only the American team, but Brazil and Argentina as a viewer. I love their flair. I love their flash. Brazil is, to me, Brazil reminds me of the Miami Hurricanes. Remember back, like you jump off the television set, and here comes Germany, and they are so deep, they could field two teams. And it didn't feel like this 20 years ago. Like, what did they do? Why is Germany suddenly so dominant?
So 10 or 20 years ago, Germany made a very strategic decision to change the way they developed their youth players. And they went from this very regimented, very strict, by-the-book type of play to, we need to be more creative. We need to be more dynamic. That's the way the game's going. We need to be more athletic. So they built that part into all their players, but at their core, they're still German, right? So they have the discipline. They know how to win games. They do things the right way. They're in the right position all the time. They defend well. And they've added that flair piece, and that's what's made them the best. And that's what teams like Argentina, like Brazil need. They need a little bit more of that.
A little more structure.
Yeah, a little bit more. And I think when you combine the two, that's what you get with Germany.
When you look at the United States, it was very few things. I try to be like a judge. I don't get emotional about sports. I want to come in every day. I want my audience to be emotional, but I got to be the judge here. I got to be able to look at the case, break it down, data. The exception to that was when the United States lost and was out of the World Cup.
I can remember. Emotional?
I remember being pissed that night and coming on the next day, and I was visceral. I was angry. In fact, the representative for Pulisic, Christian Pulisic, called me. He said, "We need to talk." I was just at wit's end. I was so frustrated. So they hire Ernie Stewart's the new GM. They miss this World Cup. I will say this, and I'm going to try to be unemotional. I do like Pulisic. I like John Brooks, Darlington Nagbe. I like, there's a kid, Weston McKinney. Jeff Cameron. There are elements here. I do feel like some of our young players are really, really gifted. Am I reaching? I mean, are we?
No, but you're not reaching, but how's that going to pan out, right? So right now we've got an exciting, and we only know it, and we only say it's exciting because all the normal guys who have been there forever are not around right now because there's no World Cup to play. So the last 6 months, we played a bunch of young players, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds. They have a lot of potential. The question is, are they going to get to a place where they're special, they're next level? And that's what that's why you play them, but we'll find out over time.
Christian Pulisic,
he's special.
He looks different.
He looks right. If you knew nothing about soccer and you watched the U.S. team play, you'd say, that kid's different.
Yes.
There's something different about him.
And you spotted him quickly.
I didn't. I mean, somebody
Do you
did,
remember the first time you saw him?
No, but I remember there was a period of time where everybody was tweeting and talking about this kid playing at Dortmund who was American, and he was 17 at the time, playing for Borussia Dortmund. I mean, I went to Bayer Leverkusen when I was 16, 17, 18. I didn't even sniff the field, nowhere near it. And this guy's scoring goals in Champions League games, right? So you knew immediately there was something special. And then when you watch him play, it validates it.
Yeah. Who do you, as a soccer star, who do you like to watch?
I like to watch Messi. I like to watch... I just like to watch special talent. If I'm like, people say, what kind of music do you like? What do you like to watch in sports or on TV? I like to watch talented people at the top of their game do what they do. I was in court the other day for some unrelated thing. I watched this attorney absolutely tear apart another attorney in the argument. And it's just so compelling to watch people at the top of their industry do that.
Yeah. So when this is like a really dorky question, but it's
as opposed to all your other great
no
questions.
kidding. I am a nerd, and I'm very happy with it, comfortable with my nerdiness. When you score a goal, I dink around, play soccer, had friends, high school, all this stuff. A header. I always thought if I was a soccer star, like the bicycle kick, you get two a career. They just don't happen very often because it's a rare circumstance where you're in that spot. Are goals different in soccer? Like in the NBA, the dunk may feel different than the finesse three. In baseball, the home run feels different than a single. In the NFL, Tom Brady, a 68-yard seam pattern is different than a screen pass that goes in for a touchdown. This is the dorkiest question I've ever asked. Is there a different emotional feel on certain types of goals?
100%. Yeah. If it's, I think there's a sliding scale based on where you expected to score that goal. So if it's a 3-yard tap in, I mean, maybe the circumstances tell you that it's more exciting, but if it's a 30-yard bicycle kick, it's going to be different, right? So I think it depends on the circumstances.
Is that you right there? Is this goal? Hold on, let me see. Oh, I remember that one. Oh, God, that was great. Look at that. I love watching soccer goals. I really do.
It's because they don't happen as often as you want.
I was going to say, if it was 24-21, I wouldn't get
right.
so.
That's why you don't get excited about a 16-foot jump shot.
All right, here we go. Modelo is rallying Americans and fans in their home country of Mexico to help break one of the sport's most elusive curses. Yeah, they've struggled early. You know, it's funny. I watched them play a year ago, and I felt they had separated us in the States. I always felt for years and years we were kind of even. It depended on where the game was at. Azteca, they win. Rose Bowl, we win. And I felt about a year ago, I'm like, they're separating from us. They've struggled in the World Cup. Why?
So over the last 30 years, Mexico have consistently made it to the round of 16. They can't get to the quarterfinals.
Can't.
And I was there. Oh, there's a shot with me and David Ross. So
yeah.
Modelo brought us together and asked, talk about curses, right? And David Ross, obviously catcher for the Chicago Cubs, who had a curse of their own.
Yeah.
He said, talk to us about that. So I was in Mexico for 4 months. Every single day I was there, I either heard on the radio, saw on TV, talked to somebody, read in the newspaper about this curse. They bring in a shaman every 4 years to, do a ceremony on the ball to break this curse. And so, I give Modelo a lot of credit for being creative and how they're doing this, but I personally find myself rooting for Mexico. I just lived there for 4 years. It's kind of sacrilegious, but
I want to see them do well.
I do. I want to see them do well, and I want to see them break the curse. And they seem to, they're so passionate, right? And it means so much to them. And you want to see an underdog succeed, right? You want to see that fighting spirit and see them do something special. And so I find myself rooting for them.
Landon, I say it on the show regularly. I don't have a problem with the SEC dominating college football. It means more to Southerners than it does UCLA fans. Like, I root for people who want something badly.
Yep.
And in the South, they love college football. And it's like, good, they should win more. It makes them happier than it would make a Stanford. Stanford grad's going to go on and own Google. Right. You know what I mean? Like in Auburn, it's a big, big deal.
No, I mean, and just a last point, living there, you see every week, depending on the result, when I was at Club Leon, if you win the game, the town's happy all week. If you lose the game, the town's sad all week. And it's their life. It's everything to them.
Can I ask you another macro soccer question?
Sure.
You traveled the globe for 10, 15 years. Was there a favorite place to play, a stadium, an environment that you, as a pro athlete, maybe didn't go to Goosebumps, but while you're playing, you're like, a Wembley Stadium. God, this is the place.
There are a few. Wembley is one of those, but this is going to maybe surprise you a little bit. In retrospect, now that I'm out of it, the places I loved most, there's one that comes to mind. Playing in Costa Rica, we used to play in a place called Saprissa Stadium. They had AstroTurf. The locker rooms were underground. The fans would be there like 4 hours before the game. Packed, stadium full, already full, every seat taken 4 hours before the game. And they would jump during, when you're in the locker room changing. And the lockers, everything would shake. So it felt like an earthquake for a half hour while you're changing and getting ready. And when you're there, you're scared out of your mind.
Right.
But in retrospect, thinking about that, and there's nothing in sports that emulates that. And that happens in lots of places throughout the soccer world.
How'd you do there?
Never won. Never got a point. Nothing. Never tied, nothing.
By the way, they didn't do that by happenstance.
No. And you're human, right? There's a human element. First of all, your biological self is thinking, I want to get out of here alive. So how am I focusing on a soccer game?
Right.
Right.
By the way, scoring in the Rose Bowl, though.
Pretty cool.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I grew up in Southern California, right? So the Rose Bowl is a shrine.
Can you imagine? I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this.